Morning.
Morning, John.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining the call. Today, we welcome on Associate Head Coach Jon Scheyer. If you have a question for Coach, please use the hand raise feature. And when you're not asking a question, please make sure to keep your line muted. We'll start with Steve Wiseman.
Hey, John. Good morning. Thanks for joining us on here. What are your thoughts on the matchup with Gonzaga, especially after what they did to UCLA last night?
Yeah, well, obviously they're really good. There's an impressive performance. I think when you look at them, you see the balance, right? Obviously they have, Timmy, who's, preseason player of the year, but, the guard play with Nemhard, Holmgren's talented. They have a complete team. Strother, Bolton. I mean, they put five guys on the floor. Not many teams can do this in college, but they put five guys on the floor. They can all pass, handle, and shoot. And, that makes it always difficult for you as a defense. But, we're excited about the opportunity. Our guys, this is part of the reason you come to Duke, to be in games like this. So I can tell you the excitement is there from our end. And the belief for us, we're going into this game to get a win.
Brendan Marks.
Hey, John, thanks again for doing this morning. Sort of not specifically about this matchup, but, last month or so, now that the games have actually started, how have you found yourself balancing the time between, having the opportunity to scout, teams like Gonzaga, but also needing to be out on the road, doing what you're doing? Like, for example, last weekend, pair of games bookending the weekend and you're still out on the road. How have you found a way to balance your time, and what's been the toughest part about that?
Well, I think, you always, as a coach, ever since I've been doing this, you always are trying to balance your time in terms of, first and foremost, focusing on your team during the season, but obviously recruiting and making sure you're still pretty good going forward. So I've already done that. So it hasn't, the only difference has been, I'm in complete control of it too, right? So, where, as an assistant coach, you have your guys you need to see, whereas a head coach, it just is that many more places you need to get to. But honestly, it's happened pretty naturally. I've felt good about it because we have been so locked in and focused on this team. But naturally, when there's a break in the schedule, I probably will not be here. I probably will be on the road.
All right, we'll go to Myron Medcalf.
John, you've obviously had a lot of incredible moments in your career. What I'm curious about is you scoring 21 points in 75 seconds in that memorable game in high school. What do you remember about that night?
I remember a couple things, and it's actually crazy for me to believe that I still get asked about that game, because it was one of the most heartbreaking losses I've ever been a part of. And we were down 13 with a minute 15 to go, and cut it to 2-3 times and just can never get the lead. And I remember a couple of people were at that game that I knew. One group I knew at the time, the other I did not. But Chris Collins and Coach K were there watching me. And Chris had the single game record for most points in our high school, and that was 54. And I had 52, and I was driving the ball with about 10 seconds left, and I got fouled. And if they called an offensive foul. If they would have called the defensive foul, it would have been, going to the line for 54. So Coach always jokes with me. They saw Chris Collins put his hands up, and celebrating when I lost. But the other kid that was there was Jabari Parker was there. And Jabari talked about, he told me when later on he came to Duke, he remembered being in that game. And I was so upset after the game, I didn't sign any autographs or see anybody after the game. I was crying, to be honest with you. And Jabari mentioned that, how he remembered that. And so for me, win, lose, draw, that's something I've always, changed, where, no matter what it is, to make an impact on somebody else, I try to do.
Adam Zagoria.
Hey, John, good to see you.
Yeah.
Obviously, Chet and Holmgren and Paolo are, very different players, but there'll be a lot of attention on them in this game because they're at the top of the draft boards. One guy's 6'10", 240, the other guy's, very thin. Can you just speak a little bit to what makes them each so special as prospects and how they're able to impact the game as freshmen, especially this year when there's so many fifth year and older guys?
Yeah, well, I'll start obviously by saying Holmgren is a terrific player. He's there's not many guys like him, and his ability to impact the game on both ends was very apparent last night in the UCLA game. So, have a lot of respect for him, what he's done so far. And obviously, I think it shows him going there. I mean, he wants to play with other really good players. So, respect that and, give a lot of respect for playing him on Friday. Paulo's blown us away in terms of his, how coachable he is, and for a guy with the amount of hype that he had coming in, always takes coaching, always wants to improve. His work ethic is as good as anyone on this team. So I think I start there at him, and then I go into his game itself, 6'10", 250, being able to rebound, push the ball, really being able to score at all three levels. And, at the start of the year, he was turning the ball over too much. He had 1 assist and 10 turnovers. In the last 3 games, he's had 11 assists and 1 turnover. And so you think about the playmaking, the scoring, and then the defending, so he's a complete player and someone who's really just scratching the surface of who he can be.
Do you think that this year, John, because there's so many fifth year and older guys that, some teams like in the Big East, Villanova, they're not even playing their freshmen. Do you think that these guys are making it a special statement as freshmen in a year with so many older players?
Yeah, I mean, I think they are. It's college basketball. It's been last year was disjointed, and so I think this is the year to put college basketball back on the map. And with those 2 guys, but I'll speak about our guy because I get to coach him every day. I mean, Paulo is, he's a special player. I know he's a fun player to watch, right? And he's a fun guy to coach. And the fact it's not all about him. It reminds me a little bit of Zion. When you coached him, it was never about himself. It was always about the team. And Paulo is the same exact way.
Thanks a lot. Good luck.
Thanks, Dad.
All right, next we'll go to Jim Sumner.
Hey, John, good morning. Thanks for your time. I
Morning.
want to talk to you about your perimeter defense. All 3 of Wendell, Jeremy, and Trevor have told the media in some way, shape, or form this year that their goal is to be the best perimeter, collectively the best perimeter defense in the country. Obviously, the only team that's beaten Gonzaga in the last 2 years did so on the backs of some great perimeter defense. Just talk about these guys as a group, individually and collectively as perimeter defenders, and how that could impact the game Friday.
Well, before you put in any game plan in terms of not just a game plan, but a strategy in terms of how you're going to play defense in a season, the first thing is, can you guard the ball? And we have 3 guys in Wendell, Jeremy, and Trevor to start. And then obviously the guys who come in off the bench, but they can really guard the ball. And, they put great pressure on it, and it's disciplined pressure where they're not getting beat. And that's unique to have that, to have 3 guys really that are versatile, that can guard any perimeter player. Trevor and Wendell, they have great size, and Jeremy has great strength. When he switches on bigger players, he can really get up under you and cause some problems. So I think for us to have that, and you think about the interior defense and shot blocking with, Mark Williams, Theo John, and Paulo, that makes for having the core of a great defensive team.
Thanks.
All right, next we'll go to Connor O'Neill.
Yeah, John, I'm curious. I don't think it's disrespectful to say that Gonzaga presents a little bit of a different challenge than the last 5 games. So what are the areas that you guys have improved on that'll help you from the Kentucky game to this game Friday?
Well, for Gonzaga, they're a team who, you try to limit their easy baskets as much as possible, right? In the game last night, they did a great job pushing on the break, getting easy threes, finishes around the basket. You have to allow, especially in transition. So that's clearly a key when you play them. But I think more importantly, are the shots you get on offense. You need to really work well together. It's not going to be easy. They have great, just like I said with us, they have great protection of the rim. They can really guard the ball. I think that's not they probably don't get enough respect for that as they should with their defense. And so they're physical. You have to play through contact. So I think our offense, the strides we've made, we obviously scored a lot last game, but we need to do that at, a higher level to beat them on Friday.
Sasha, Richie.
Hi, Coach. Thanks for doing this. You spoke a little bit about Jeremy as a defender. Could you talk about what he brings to your offensive flow?
Yeah, Jeremy's really taken huge strides this year. And I think the assertiveness and aggressiveness that he's played with has been key. And, the next step for him is, not passing up open shots. We want him to be a guy he's got the green light to go ahead and be aggressive. I think the other area he's made huge strides on with his offensive game is his playmaking. He's made, where he's getting in the paint and knowing where his bailouts are, or knowing where his bigs are for finishes, whether it be for a lob or for a dump off. So he's been terrific, being really good in ball screens. He's got a good mid-range game, and so Jeremy needs to continue to make strides where he's aggressive, whether he misses or makes. I think that's the next step for him. But he's been just a really, really consistent and a really good player for us.
All right, we'll go to Brenna Green.
Hi, John. Just what was your reaction watching that game last night, especially the first 10 minutes of it?
Well, I was impressed. It was a really good game, and you're obviously trying to take in everything and look at it from a strategic standpoint. But how could you not be impressed with how they played? It was really, really, look, they have some guys, when you go through a season and you play a national championship game and you only lose one game, and you have some core players coming back from that. There's a belief that you can tell they play with. There's a swagger that they play with, and they don't lack for confidence, rightfully so. And so I think that was apparent last night watching them, and just how together they play. They play really together. So I was impressed.
Brian Horace.
Hey, John, thanks again. You guys have played 5 games in 10 days leading up to this game. What have you learned about the team as a whole?
I think for us as a coaching staff, Brian, we've learned we can be as good as anybody, and we're probably not at the close to the finishing product we will be by the end of the season. I think we have a lot of room to grow. But you look really in every game, in every one of the games so far, there's been at least somebody on our team of the 10 scholarship players that make plays. I mean, we've had a team, you can look at anybody throughout every game. So I think that's been important. If you go back and look at the seasons that we've had, very rarely the way it starts off in terms of rotation or minutes or roles is usually not the way it ends. So I think we have a lot of developing players that can continue to contribute, like an AJ Griffin, has shown some really good flashes, but he's coming off a year he didn't play. And we need AJ to get in the fold consistently. That's important to our team. You look at our starting group. I was mentioning this about Gonzaga, but we feel we have a complete team in terms of, putting 5 guys on the floor that can score, that can defend, and that can really win their position. I mean, any of our guys can play right there with anyone and beat them. So we love the start of the season. We have a long way to go. But I think for us as a coaching staff, we've learned that we can play with anybody.
Thank you.
We'll go to Jason Evans.
So I was going to ask a little bit more, John, about AJ Griffin. He's clearly struggling to find his role. Do you guys think it's the injuries and just the time off? What's the explanation there?
It's just part of the natural development, and it's not always where it's smooth sailing. And sometimes you have to go through moments where you don't play as well. You're still figuring it out. And, AJ, I think, is coming off time where he just hasn't played. And, you can see the confidence is growing. He's been working his butt off. He is incredibly coachable. He's wants to learn. But it's a process. Like it's, I wish every one of our guys could, play 40 minutes and, play at an incredibly high level consistently. He's just figuring that out. And it's been, just like I said, it's been fun coaching Paulo. It's been fun coaching him and trying to figure out with him together. But I can tell you, we believe in him. We've seen the flashes in practice. I think you guys have seen the flashes in games, and it's just a matter of time for AJ.
We have time for a couple more. We'll go back to Steve Wiseman.
Yeah, John, I want to ask you specifically about transition defense and how that has progressed over, the 6 games so far here.
It's been good. We have a long way to go. But, I think, again, with us, our half-court defense has been – I think there are 2 things, Steve. One, with the talent that we have in some games, teams don't want to push it on us as much. But you also get where our half-court defense has been pretty solid. So teams try to push to get those easy baskets in transition. I think we've been taken aback in some of these games by teams doing that. But, clearly Gonzaga is a team that's going to push no matter who they play. So I think the talk needs to improve, our just the sense of urgency, understanding how quickly it happens. We have a young team, and for some of our freshmen, usually you score in high school, you got time to get back. But I think they've been adjusting to that. And then learning, for us, our versatility on defense, it doesn't matter as much who you're guarding. A lot of times we have cross matchups, and for us, that's fine as long as we're defending somebody. So it's been improving. It's coming along, but we still have some ways to go in that.
Adam Zagoria.
I'm actually good. Sorry, I should have lowered my hand. Sorry about that.
All right.
No, now you have to ask a question, Adam. Once you whether it's accidental or not, you gotta ask a question.
Man, I don't really have one. Good luck.
Thanks, Adam.
All right, we'll wrap it up with Brendan Marks.
Hey, John. Yeah, I just wanted to ask you a little bit more about Wendell. He had said before this season that, he and Nolan had talked, and he had hoped that he would be on sort of Nolan's career growth trajectory. And, through 6 games, he sort of has been. Just sort of wondering what you guys have told him and shown him behind the scenes that's unlocked this, playmaking element of his game. He was usually more of a secondary handler last year, but, he's, leading the team in assists and has looked very comfortable doing so. So how have you guys taken that and drawn that out of him?
We've just told him to be himself. Wendell is, a terrific player. I think you just see the confidence, that he has, and he's, I look back at the past couple of years. First of all, what a disjointed college career with the first 2 seasons with COVID and everything you have to deal with. So it's hard to have that continuity and consistency. But it's the confidence. Coaches told him for really since the day he stepped on campus, just be you, be aggressive, be you. And I think he's done that in flashes, but he hasn't done that with the consistency that he has with the start of the season. We like the fact he's really doing everything for us. He's defending other team's best perimeter player a lot of the time. He's creating for others. He's scoring really not just behind the line at the rim, but really efficiently in the mid-range as well. So he's really doing everything. He's leading. So really proud of him and the strides he's made. And, we expect this to continue for him as well.
All right, that'll conclude our availability this morning. We appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone, for joining the call.
Thank you all.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Kyle.
Good luck. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.